Welcome back to another episode of TPI Beef, the venting ground of good and bad TPI stereotypes that I have some beef with. The topic I want to talk about was a suggestion by H. Starachi. He suggested that I cover jury votes. For those of you who are unaware, this is referring to at the very end of a TPI. Yeah, it's kind of rare nowadays, but yes, they actually end sometimes. Where roughly around the last 7 or so eliminated contestants coming together and voting on the winner. It's either that or there is a final 2 challenge, which I will get into later. Typically, right before they vote, they question the 2 finalists and decide based on their answers and/or relationships who they feel should win the game. It's directly inspired from Survivor, where the concept is identical. In contrast, the final 2 challenges are directly inspired by Total Drama, the source material. Now let's get into my take on jury votes versus final 2 challenges. Before I get into my opinion on the matter, I want to first look at the pros and the cons of each. With a jury vote, it allows the finalists with better relationships and better strategy to win the game. It also gives the finalists some incentive to have good social connections and prepare themselves professionally so that they can be taken seriously. On the flip side, it can usually lead to predictable endings or blowouts to the runner-up. Final 2 challenges usually involve an epic showdown between the final 2. It can lead to a lot of suspense, even if the finalists are shit. It can even lead to a lot of development between the 2 finalists, as well as an interesting dynamic depending on who the finalists are. In contrast, final 2 challenges allow compors to win the game, unless bad writing says otherwise. It also gives 2 people no consequences for their terrible social games, unless, again, the plot demands it. Now for my stance on the issue. Jury votes are easily done well. A strong ending that is very possible with a jury vote. It really depends on your writing skill. If your finalists are shit, then what's the point? If your jurors have no fucking personality outside of their one-note trait, then what's the point? Yeah, final 2 challenges are great, but I feel with strong writing and characters who have their own opinions and their own relationships can make for a much more satisfying ending. To me, final challenges feel a lot more contrived and forced, especially if the winner is out of nowhere. Also, as a fan of Survivor, I have a little bias towards jury votes. Watching the show and seeing all the seasons play out, if they pulled this shit, it would literally break the game. It would allow compors to win every single time in a very complex social experiment. This ain't win carnival games and don't vote out your friends, XD. Only vote out bad guys because they're not nice Eevees and they actually have personalities. LMAO. It's ridiculous on how many bullshit endings I have seen with final 2 challenges. The most notorious example isn't even from a TPI, but instead from the fucking source material. If Total Drama All-Stars isn't a prime enough example of why jury votes are important, then I don't know what is. Talk about a god-awful ending to a god-awful season. If this were Survivor, I would still hate this final 2, but I would at least appreciate the jury roasting the fuck out of them. I'm sorry, but final 2 challenges work in like 2 cases. 1. The finalists have a story arc that concludes in the challenge. Or, number 2, your characters are so shit that you have to in order to create some sort of suspense. Both are a stretch at best and usually are still terrible, but not as terrible. I do see both sides of the argument, and I know that some people lean one way or another. However, as a fan of the game, I cannot stand final 2 challenges. I will defend jury votes until the day I die, and just to prove it, I have a show that I felt did jury votes the best out of what I've seen. Before I get into this section, there are spoilers to a show that's like, 2 years old at this point? You have been warned. In my opinion, out of all the shows with jury votes, the best final jury vote that I have seen personally is Leafy on Live's Total Pokemon Music. The suspense leading up to the reveal was just so intense, and I felt a lot more tension and drama than I ever have in a Final 2 challenge. Each of the jurors in his finale had their own viewpoints and who they felt was worthy of the title. They each had their own reasoning, and they didn't make it super obvious who the winner was. For the longest time, I felt that Glade or maybe Superior was going to win in a blowout, but I was proven wrong as the jury voted for who played the best game, and not just giving the fucking trans just because they're trans, or the nice girl, who's kind of a no bullshit attitude kind of thing. It truly goes into the complexity of the game, and how even if you have good intentions and you treated people well, that doesn't always mean you win. Same with Superior. I thought if Glade didn't win, Superior would. I was proven wrong, and the player who actually played the best game won. Delcatty I felt was a strong winner because, yeah, he wasn't perfect, but he was a damn good player. He was just trying to survive and played his cards to his advantage. Granted, I have my my issues with the character, which I won't get into, but nonetheless, Wave provide a very satisfying ending with the jury vote. Overall, I think that the jury votes are very important to TPIs, and I hate how they've only been more utilized recently. Well, out of everyone who finished their show at least. Hell, I was even guilty of not finishing a show once. To me personally, I find that final two challenges are mostly just contrived plot points that can be suspenseful, but I feel that strong writing can do that much better. I think that a talented TPI maker can do much more with a jury vote than they can with a challenge, and it's a damn shame in my opinion that it isn't utilized more often. If you prefer final two challenges, that's fine. I'm not here to shit on what you enjoy. I only want to provide my personal outlook to entertain you and provide a different perspective on something. Well, this has been another episode of TPI Beef. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.